Have you ever walked into a place and felt completely invisible? Not like a speck of dust drifting in an endless void, but like you're standing right there, and somehow no one sees you. Before we dive into this story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new one. That's exactly how Karoline Leavitt felt that day. After long, grueling days in Washington, battling the left-wing media, shutting down leaks, she needed an escape. Rio Grande was the perfect retreat, a gleaming jewel in her husband Nicholas Rio's real estate empire. To avoid attention, she booked under the name Karoline Wilson. The moment she stepped into the grand lobby with its towering crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors, she expected luxury and calm. Instead, chaos. Staff bustled about, laughter echoed from the corner, and at the front desk, a young woman scrolled through her phone, half listening to a podcast buzzing in her dangling earbuds. Karoline approached the desk, her voice smooth but firm. "I have a reservation under Karoline Wilson." The receptionist, Avery, according to her name tag, barely looked up at first. Then, recognition flickered in her eyes. Her gaze sharpened. Golden hair. That unmistakable voice from Fox News. "Karoline Wilson?" Avery repeated, the name rolling off her tongue with a hint of mockery. "Wait, aren't you Karoline Leavitt? Trump's person?" Karoline arched a brow, but kept her tone cool. "I'm Karoline Wilson. Please check my reservation." Avery's fingers hovered over the keyboard, but her smile lingered, polite yet laced with something else. "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am, but I don't see anything under that name." She tilted her head. "Maybe the system hasn't updated. We prioritize more open-minded guests." Karoline caught the implication instantly. "Open-minded?" She echoed, her voice razor-sharp. Avery's smile widened. "Just our style, ma'am. Hope you understand." A few guests nearby went quiet, sensing the tension brewing. Avery leaned against the counter, eyes gleaming with thinly veiled contempt. Karoline had faced hostile reporters, sanctimonious politicians, opponents who played the game at the highest levels, but a smug receptionist using progress as a weapon? That was new. She exhaled slowly. "I have the confirmation email right here." Swiping through her phone, she pulled up the Rio Grande booking, Karoline Wilson, Suite 1401 confirmed, and held the screen up for Avery to see. Avery glanced at it, then tapped lazily at her keyboard before offering a half-hearted shrug. "Still nothing. Maybe you booked wrong, or maybe someone adjusted it." Her voice turned saccharine. "Happens when guests don't fit our vibe." Karoline's lip curled. "Vibe," she repeated, her tone like ice. "You mean refusing? Me service because I won't bow to your woke nonsense?" A flicker of uncertainty crossed Avery's face, but she quickly recovered. "I'm not refusing anything, ma'am," she said smoothly. "We just prioritize guests who respect progress, equality, the environment, things that might not be on your agenda." Karoline let out a sharp laugh. "My agenda?" She leaned in slightly. "You're picking a political fight with me in my husband's hotel?" Avery crossed her arms, her smirk returning. "I'm just doing my job, ma'am." Her voice dripped with false sweetness. "But since you brought up your husband, maybe he can fix the system. People like you are better at pulling strings than solving problems." The words struck like a match against dry kindling. Karoline had spent years fending off media hit pieces and partisan attacks. She knew this game well. She stepped forward, her voice low and deliberate. "Check. Again." Avery sighed, making a show of her annoyance, and tapped at the keyboard. A beat passed, then another. Finally, she looked up, her expression unchanged. Still, nothing. She flashed another syrupy smile. "Maybe because we don't back outdated views like yours." Karoline's eyes narrowed. "Outdated?" she echoed. "You mean the values that built this country? The ones you and your leftist pals are so eager to tear down?" Avery flushed but stood her ground. "I'm not tearing anything down," she shot back, her voice rising slightly. "I'm protecting this space from people like you, people who oppose diversity, who—" "Rights?" Avery scoffed, crossing her arms. People like you think you can bully your way in with fame. Karoline straightened, her blue eyes like lasers boring into the receptionist. Protecting this space by refusing customers you don't like, that's the freedom you're so proud of? Avery's lip curled, her voice tinged with arrogance. I get to choose who I serve, ma'am. This isn't the place for people like you. You should know that with the title you carry. The jab landed. A sly, calculated blow. Karoline felt the heat rise in her throat, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she let out a quiet, mocking chuckle. Interesting, she mused. You recognized me from the start and decided to delete my booking because you don't like what I stand for. She tilted her head. Who do you think you are, Avery? A receptionist? Or a self-appointed activist? Avery blinked rapidly, but held her ground. I'm just doing my job, she said flatly. If you don't like it, prove me wrong. I'm waiting. Karoline stepped back, her gaze locked onto Avery. Without breaking eye contact, she pulled out her phone, fingers flying through her contacts. Prove it? She repeated, voice low and edged with warning. Fine, I'll show you the cost of crossing me. Avery shrugged, trying to appear unfazed, but the movement was stiff, uncertain. Go ahead, she said, her smirk wavering slightly. I'm not scared of you, but her voice wavered too. The Rio Grande lobby had gone dead silent. A few nearby guests had stopped talking, sensing an explosion about to detonate. Karoline's grip on her phone tightened as she heard the line connect. Josh, she said, her voice crisp. On the other end, her assistant from Washington was already alert. Yes, Miss Leavitt? I need you to access Rio Grande's internal system. Front desk account, Avery. Check the activity log. Josh, ever efficient, responded briskly. On it. Give me a minute. Avery's smirk finally slipped. She blinked, the reality of the situation sinking in. What are you doing? She asked, voice rising, losing its artificial sweetness. Karoline shot her a cold glance. I'm giving you one last chance to admit you deleted my reservation. She leaned in slightly. If not, I'll prove it myself. Avery's lip twitched. Prove what, ma'am? She forced out, still clinging to her act. The system doesn't have your name. I don't have to play along with your power games. She tossed her hair. This isn't the White House. Karoline's smile was sharp, almost amused. No, she agreed. It's my husband's hotel, and you just made it your battlefield. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Big mistake. A faint buzz from her phone. A message popped onto the screen. Josh had sent the report. Karoline Wilson, Suite 1401. Confirmed at 2:32 p.m. Manually deleted by Avery L. at 5:18 p.m. Google search. Karoline Leavitt from the same account at 5:15 p.m. Karoline's lips curled into a slow, knowing smile. The look of someone holding a royal flush. Turning the screen toward Avery, she spoke, her voice even but cutting. Look. Avery's eyes flickered to the screen. She paled, deleted by Avery L. Her fingers clenched around the counter. That could be a glitch, she stammered. I didn't do anything. Computers sometimes. Karoline cut her off, stepping forward. A glitch? Her voice was quiet but lethal. Then why did your account delete my booking the moment I arrived? Avery took a half step back, hands gripping the edge of the desk. I was just checking something, she mumbled, her voice suddenly small. It wasn't on purpose. You can't prove, Karoline laughed. A sharp, humorless sound that rang through the lobby. Can't prove it? She held up the phone and hit speaker. Josh, read it aloud. Josh's voice came through, clear and precise. Karoline. Wilson, Suite 1401. Confirmed 2:32 p.m. Manually deleted at 5:18 p.m. by the same account. No reason noted. A ripple of murmurs spread through the lobby. An older man nearby muttered, She's done for. A young woman shook her head but stayed, silent, watching. Avery's mouth opened and closed, searching for a response, but there was nothing left to say. And Karoline? She simply watched, waiting for the fallout. The silence in the Rio Grande lobby was deafening. Karoline killed the speakerphone, her icy gaze locked onto Avery. You knew exactly who I was. she said, voice calm but cutting. And you deleted my booking because you don't like what I stand for. This isn't a glitch, Avery, it's you, a hypocrite hiding behind progressivism. Avery's mouth opened, but no words came. Her face drained of color, fingers trembling against the counter. I didn't, she stammered. Karoline didn't let her finish. Didn't what? She pressed, stepping closer. Didn't mean to? You recognized me the moment I walked in and decided to teach me a lesson because I don't fit your open-minded mold. Karoline tilted her head, eyes narrowing. Tell me, Avery, are you a receptionist or a self-appointed activist using my husband's hotel as your soapbox? Avery backed up a step, panic flickering in her eyes. You don't get it, she said, voice weakening. I just wanted to keep this space safe from people like you. People who ruin everything we've fought for. Ruin? Karoline echoed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You're not protecting anything. You refused me service because of my views, the exact thing you accuse others of doing. She lifted her phone, the glowing system log like a verdict in a courtroom. You're not a hero, Avery. You're a hypocrite, and I have the proof. Avery swallowed hard, eyes darting around like a trapped animal. You can't fire me over this, she whispered. I have rights. Karoline's lips curled into a slow, lethal smile. Your rights end where mine begin, she said, coolly. You wanted to play politics with me? Fine. But now the game is over. She swiped her phone, dialing. Nicholas, she said when her husband picked up. I need you at Rio Grande. Now. His deep, steady voice came through the line. What's going on? Karoline's gaze never left Avery as she answered. One of your staff just refused me service because she doesn't like my politics. A beat of silence. Then Nicholas said, voice like steel. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Stay put. Karoline ended the call and set her phone on the counter. She didn't move, didn't blink. Avery's face had gone ghost white. Her hands, still gripping the counter, trembled. You can't do this, she whispered. I was just doing my job. Karoline tilted her head slightly. No, Avery, she said, her voice as sharp as a blade. You turned your job into a weapon, and now you're going to pay for it. She turned to the lobby, raising her voice, just enough for the growing audience to hear. Anyone here think refusing a customer over politics is progressive? Speak up. Silence. Then a single clap. An older man muttered, She's right. A younger woman shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Karoline turned back to Avery, her expression unchanging. You picked the wrong fight, she said softly, and when my husband gets here, you'll see the cost of your arrogance. The lobby hung heavy with tension, whispers rippling through the crowd, some curious, some excited, some stunned. Avery stood frozen, her breath shaky. Then, the unmistakable sound of leather shoes echoed from the entrance, cutting through the thick silence. Nicholas Rio strode in, tall, commanding, dark gray suit crisp, silver-streaked hair immaculately combed, deep brown eyes scanning the room like a hawk. The crowd parted instinctively as he moved, his presence alone shifting the air. Some recognized him immediately, the powerhouse real estate mogul behind this luxury empire. His gaze landed on Karoline first, then it snapped to Avery. What's happening? His voice was deep, sharp, leaving no room for nonsense. Karoline turned to him, her tone calm but razor-sharp. Nick, your employee just refused me service because she doesn't like my political views. She lifted her phone, the screen still glowing. She deleted my reservation from the system, I have proof. Nicholas took the phone, his brow furrowing as he read. Reservation deleted by Avriel at 5:18 p.m. His jaw tightened. His eyes darkened as he looked up at Avery. Is this real? He asked. Avery blinked rapidly, hands trembling as they left the counter. I didn't, she stammered. Nicholas raised a hand, his tone like ice. I'm not asking if you did it. He held up the phone. I'm asking if this is real. Avery's breath hitched. It was just a system error, she said, voice barely above a whisper. But no one believed her, and the look in Nicholas Rio's eyes said everything. Karoline tilted her head, voice dripping with sarcasm. A system error? She repeated. You're telling me that while I'm standing here, and the log shows your account deleted my reservation right after searching my name? She swiped her phone, ready to hit speaker. Nicholas raised a hand. Enough. His dark eyes shifted to Avery. What do you have to say for yourself? Avery squared her shoulders, forcing confidence into her voice. I was just doing my job, sir, she said, voice rising in defense. I didn't think she fit our vibe. She's against everything we stand for. Diversity, fairness, progress. I have my rights. Nicholas cut her off, his voice dropping into something menacing. Your rights? His tone was sharp, deliberate. This is my hotel, not your political stage. You were hired to serve guests, not judge them. Avery flushed, her eyes darting to the growing crowd. But she's Karoline Leavitt, she blurted. She stands for things that ruin everything we fought for. Nicholas arched an eyebrow, his eyes darkening. She's my wife, he said flatly. His voice was even, but it cut like a blade. And you just refused her service in my hotel. He took a slow step forward. Do you think that was smart? The lobby stirred. Whispers erupted. His wife? Karoline stepped closer, her voice quiet but razor-sharp. She didn't just refuse me, Nick, she said. She turned your hotel into her soapbox. She thinks she gets to decide who stays here, based on politics. Nicholas nodded once, his gaze never leaving Avery. So it's true, he said, his voice like a verdict. You're done. Avery's breath hitched. Her face drained of color. What do you mean? She stammered. Nicholas stepped up to the counter, his voice loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. You're fired. Avery stumbled back. Pack your things and leave in 10 minutes, Nicholas continued. Or I'll call security. The lobby erupted. An older man clapped, muttering, Good riddance. A younger woman shouted, That's reverse discrimination. Nicholas didn't flinch. His eyes were cold, unyielding. Avery's mouth fell open, her breath ragged, her red-rimmed eyes flickered between Karoline and Nicholas. You can't do this, she screamed, voice cracking. I have my rights. This is my space. Karoline's eyes flashed. Your space? She repeated, voice like a dagger. This is my husband's hotel, not your leftist playground. You wanted a fight? Do it somewhere else. Avery spun toward Karoline, her face contorted with fury. You're a dictator, she spat. You think you can use power to force people? Karoline just smiled, coldly. I'm not forcing anyone, she said, voice deadly soft. You dug your own grave when you deleted my reservation because you don't like me. She held up her phone again. This isn't power. It's consequence. Nicholas nodded. His voice boomed like a gavel. You heard her. Get out. Avery's hands trembled. Tears welled in her eyes. You'll regret this, she whispered, voice choked. The left won't let this slide. Nicholas shrugged. His expression didn't change. Let them try. His voice was pure steel. Now go. Avery stumbled back, then bolted toward the staff room. Her sobs echoed through the hall as she disappeared. The lobby exploded into murmurs, debates, and camera flashes. Some guests clapped, cheering. She deserved it. A woman with green-dyed hair yelled, This is oppression. I'm posting this on X. Phones shot up everywhere, capturing the moment like a mini protest. Nicholas's expression didn't shift. He turned, his gaze locking onto a nearby employee. Get the manager out here. Now. His voice was low, sharp as a blade. I want to know why he let this happen right under his nose without a clue. The employee, a young man, paled instantly. He nodded frantically before bolting toward the back office like he was escaping a storm. The Rio Grande lobby slowly settled after the chaos. Avery's sobs faded behind the staff-only door. Some guests still lingered, whispering. Some were still filming. Karoline stood beside Nicholas, her sharp blue eyes scanning the room, that same cold smile lingering on her lips. Nicholas pulled his hand from her shoulder, his deep brown eyes darkening as he turned toward the returning employee. "Where is he?" Nicholas asked, his voice low but laced with menace. The young man, face flushed, sweat beading on his forehead, stammered. "Mr. Hensley's coming, sir," he choked out. "He's in the back office." Nicholas nodded, his piercing gaze. "Never left the kid. Good. Tell him to hurry." His voice was sharp, unforgiving. "I don't wait long." Karoline's eyes flicked toward her husband. Her expression hardened, her voice dropped to an arrow-sharp whisper. "I want to know who let this happen right under his nose, Nick," she said. "Avery didn't dare do this alone." Nicholas gave a single, slow nod, and the next storm was already brewing. Nicholas gave a slight nod, his eyes darkening. "Agreement clear. I want to root this out too." The door behind the counter swung open. Mark Hensley stepped out, a middle-aged man, thinning hair, his wrinkled gray suit looking as disheveled as his expression. His eyes darted nervously, sweat already dotting his forehead as he took in the sight of Nicholas and Karoline standing there like twin pillars of authority. "Mr. Riccio." "Miss Leavitt," he greeted, his voice shaky, forcing a weak smile. "I just heard something happened. Is there a problem?" Karoline stepped forward, her gaze like a laser boring into him. "A problem?" she echoed, her voice dripping sarcasm. "Your employee refused me service because she didn't like my politics. She deleted my reservation. She turned this hotel into a leftist soapbox." Karoline tilted her head, eyes sharp. "Is that a problem, Mr. Hensley?" Mark blinked fast, wiping sweat from his brow. I'm so sorry, Miss Leavitt, I didn't know." Nicholas cut in, his voice deep, cold. "You didn't know?" His stare drilled into Mark. "You're the manager here. How do you not know your staff refused my wife in the middle of the lobby?" Mark stepped back, eyes flicking toward the exit. I was in the office, sir. I can't watch everything at once." "Avery. She's new. Maybe she misunderstood policy." Karoline's voice snapped like a blade. "Misunderstood?" She took another step forward, her words precise, cutting. "She didn't misunderstand anything. She deliberately deleted my booking because she doesn't like me. I have the system log to prove it." She held up her phone, the glowing screen damning. "This wasn't a mistake, Mark." Her voice dropped to something sharper. "It was your system enabling her arrogance." Mark swallowed hard, his voice trembling. I'll look into it, Miss Leavitt, I promise." Nicholas stepped forward. "Look into it?" His voice was like a slow-moving storm. "It's already happened. And you let it." His gaze turned, steel. "Do you even understand what this hotel stands for? This is my property, not a playground for your staff's political games." Mark's hands twisted together like he was pleading. "Mr. Riccio, I didn't enable anything. I didn't want trouble with staff. Avery, she's stubborn, but I thought she'd adjust on her own." Karoline let out a cold laugh. "Adjust?" Her voice rang sharp across the lobby. "She refused me in front of everyone, and you think she'd just adjust?" Her blue eyes locked on him. "Are you a manager, Mark? Or just a placeholder?" Mark flushed, panicking. I tried training her, Miss Leavitt, but she's got strong beliefs. She talked about freedom, diversity. I didn't want a lawsuit for pushing her." Karoline cut him off. "Freedom?" She let the word drip with sarcasm. "She used freedom to discriminate against me because I don't fit her leftist ideals. And you enabled it, because you were scared of trouble." She gestured to the lobby. "What have you turned this hotel into?" Mark shrank back, his voice weak. I didn't mean for this, Miss Leavitt. I was just keeping the peace." Nicholas's voice was like a verdict. "Peace?" He took another step forward. "You let your staff insult my wife because you wouldn't stand up to them." His eyes bore into Mark. That's not peace. That's weakness. Mark's head dropped. Sweat streaked his cheeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Riccio. I'll fix it. Karoline cut in, her tone cold. Fix it? She leaned in slightly, her voice now a deadly whisper. You let this happen under your nose, and you didn't even know until my husband had to come here himself. Her lips curled slightly. Do you have any idea the cost of your weakness? Mark looked up, eyes pleading. Please, Miss Leavitt, he whispered. I need this job. I have a family. Karoline didn't blink. She stepped even closer, her voice low, icy. I don't care what you need. She tilted her head. I care that my husband's hotel became a joke because you didn't do your job. You let Avery act like she owned this place, and you did nothing. Mark shook his head, voice quaking. I'll change. I'll tighten control. Please, give me a chance. Nicholas glanced at Karoline, seeking her input. She held his gaze for a moment, then gave a slight nod. Her voice, however, remained sharp. Fine, Mark, but one chance. She let the words sink in. If I hear one more case of your staff refusing guests over petty political nonsense, her voice dropped lower. You won't just lose your job. You'll lose everything you've built here. Mark nodded frantically. Sweat dripped to the floor. Thank you, Miss Leavitt. Thank you, Mr. Riccio. I won't let this happen again. Karoline turned to Nicholas, her voice low. What do you think, Nick? Nicholas shrugged slightly, eyes still on Mark. I trust you. His voice was even. But I want him to prove he's not useless. His gaze hardened. Hire someone new for Avery's spot. Vet them better. I don't want another one thinking they can turn my hotel into a soapbox. His voice dropped to a razor's edge. Got it? Mark's head bobbed quickly, his face pale. Yes, sir, I'll do it right away. Karoline's gaze stayed cold as she looked at Mark. Good. But I'll be watching you, Mark. Don't let me down again. Mark bowed his head, muttering, I won't, Miss Leavitt. Then he turned and hurried off, looking like a man who had just dodged a death sentence. Karoline slipped her phone from her coat pocket, the screen lighting up with a flood of X notifications. The app she often used to track public opinion and counter-leftist media. Nicholas glanced over, his deep brown eyes flickering with curiosity. Anything good? His voice was low, expectant. Karoline's lips curled, that cold smile returning. Oh, you'll like this. She swiped through the alerts. In mere minutes since Avery's public firing, the incident had exploded online. The hashtag "You're Karoline's liberal receptionist" trended at number 3, paired with short lobby videos. Flashes popped. Avery's voice shouted in defiance. Karoline's tone cut through it all, sharp, commanding, inescapable. She tapped the first. Video posted by Patriot Mike 76, the caption read, Karoline Leavitt takes down a leftist receptionist in her husband's hotel. This is real America. The clip cut straight to Nicholas firing Avery, the crowd clapping and Karoline shutting it down with a steel trap response. The comments roared with support. She's a legend. Leftists lose again. Don't mess with Karoline. Karoline's smile deepened, her eyes glinting with satisfaction at the thousands of likes and shares. Nicholas leaned in, watching the reactions. His eyes darkened. They're fast, he murmured. You're more famous than I thought. Karoline shrugged, voice dry. I'm used to being filmed and hated. She flicked to another post, this one from Blue Wave Rises, a leftist account. Karoline Leavitt abuses power to fire a worker for daring to stand against oppression. This is the true face of conservatives. Attached was a zoomed-in shot of Avery crying. The comments raged. She's a victim. Dictatorship in disguise. Cancel Riccio Grande. Karoline let out a sharp, amused laugh. Victim? She repeated, her voice thick with disdain. She deleted my reservation because she didn't like my views, and I'm the oppressor? Classic leftist logic. Nicholas nodded, eyes flashing in agreement. They always do this. His voice was smooth, knowing. Turn the wrongdoer into a hero, but you've got proof. Karoline's nod was slight but certain. Exactly, and I won't let them spin this. She opened another post, this one from our Real News Now, a prominent, conservative account. Karoline Leavitt proves the left can't handle the truth. Liberal receptionist refuses her service, gets fired on the spot. This is a win for real freedom. Below it, a photo of Karoline holding up her phone with the system log proof. The comments poured in. She doesn't back down. Trump should be proud. Leftists crying again. Karoline's smile widened as retweets skyrocketed. 5,020 minutes. But not everyone cheered. A post from A Justice for Avery had its own traction. A video of Avery, tears streaming, as she left the hotel. Captioned, Avery fired for standing up to Karoline Leavitt, a power-hungry bully who can't handle dissent. Boycott Rio Grande. The replies were a riot of outrage. She was just defending her values. Karoline's a bully. This is reverse discrimination. Karoline arched a brow, her voice laced with sarcasm. Defending her values by refusing me service? She shook her head. They need to look up bully in the dictionary. Nicholas smirked, amusement flickering in his eyes. What are you going to do with this? Karoline swiped her finger across the screen, her voice low but resolute. I'll let them dig their own grave. Her eyes flicked back to the screen. The truth is clear. She was wrong. I have proof. The more they scream, the more they expose their hypocrisy. She opened X, typed a tweet. Avery refused me service over my politics. Got fired for her actions, not me. This is consequence, not oppression. Karoline VV's liberal receptionist. She hit send. The tweet exploded instantly, racking up dozens of likes. In seconds, minutes later, it was wildfire. Conservatives flooded in, supporting her. She's right. Don't let the left twist the truth. But the left struck back hard. Progressive voice replied. Karoline Leavitt thinks she's above the law. Firing a worker for differing beliefs is tyranny. Karoline scrolled past, her eyes cold. Above. The law? She muttered. She broke hotel policy, not me. She turned to Nicholas, her voice low. They won't stop, Nick. Her eyes glowed with defiance. But neither will I. Nicholas nodded, his eyes darkening. I don't care what they say online. I just want my hotel free of these political stunts. Karoline smirked faintly, her gaze sweeping the lobby. Don't worry. After today, no one will dare try again. Not under our roof. Her phone buzzed, again and again, as X notifications piled up. A post from a MAGA warrior rose to the top. Karoline Leavitt is the conservative queen. Took down a leftist receptionist and made them cry online. Double win. Karoline smiled lightly, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. But then, another post made her pause. Left united. We stand with Avery. Karoline Leavitt and her husband represent elite oppression. Justice for Avery. Her lip curled. Her voice dripped sarcasm. Elite? I just wanted a room. Nicholas placed a firm hand on her shoulder, his voice deep and certain. You won, Karoline. They can yell all they want. The truth doesn't change. Nodded, eyes locked on the screen. True, and I'll make sure they don't forget it. She scrolled to a final tweet from a real Karoline fan. She didn't just defend herself, she defended all of us from woke insanity. Thank you, Karoline. Her smile widened. This wasn't just personal, it was political. Karoline and Nicholas crossed the Rio Grande's lobby, heading straight for the elevator. They had plans to make. The doors slid shut, soft golden light reflecting off Karoline's face, still sharp, though slightly softened. Mark's a bigger problem than Avery, she said, voice low. He's weak, letting staff run wild like, they own the place, we can't let that continue. Nicholas shrugged, eyes fixed on the doors. He's got a chance to fix it, but if you want to change, just tell me. The elevator opened into their luxurious suite, polished wood floors, a panoramic view of the city, and a small bar stocked with Nicholas's favorite whiskey. He poured 2 glasses, handing one to Karoline. His eyes were expectant. She took a sip, then set the glass down with a faint clink. Her voice was firm. I don't want risks, Nick. Mark's not strong enough to manage. He let Avery turn this hotel into a joke before we stepped in. If we keep him, there have to be conditions. Nicholas nodded slightly, his eyes glinting with agreement. Fine, I'll give him one shot, but he has to prove it. Karoline walked to the window, looking down at the now empty lobby. Not just Mark, she said, voice low. We need to change how things run here. Hire people who work, not activists using this hotel as a soapbox. Tighter background checks, clearer policies, no tolerance for political games. Nicholas settled into a leather chair, whiskey in hand. His gaze stayed locked on her. Got a specific plan yet? Karoline turned, eyes blazing with resolve. Yes. Set terms with Mark. Either he controls his staff, or he's out. If we keep him, I want a tough assistant from my Washington team, someone who worked with me under Trump. They know how to keep order. Nicholas's eyes sparked with interest. I trust you, but Mark reports straight to me. No middlemen. Deal. Karoline's voice was sharp. And I want a new policy effective immediately. Any staff refusing service over personal or political reasons? Fired. No second chances. This is a hotel, not an ideological battlefield. Nicholas smirked faintly, his eyes darkening. I like that. I'll have legal drafted by morning. Anything else? Karoline stepped closer, sitting across from him. Her eyes never left his. I want to send a message, not just here, across your entire hotel chain. After Avery, people need to know the cost of challenging us. Nicholas tilted his head, curiosity flickering in his gaze. What do you mean? Karoline's lip curled, her voice dropping low, menacing. I'll work with PR. We post an official statement. On X, on your hotel channels. Anyone pulling an Avery stunt? No second chance. Not here, not anywhere. Nicholas took a slow sip of whiskey, his eyes lighting with approval. You play hard. His voice was deep, amused. But I like it, I'll sign off. You go for it. Karoline gave a slight nod, scanning the room. Good. And I want you personally overseeing Mark. Make sure he doesn't screw up again. Nicholas set his glass down, nodding once. Done. I'll watch him. For a moment, the suite was silent. The air hung heavy, charged with power. Karoline stood, walking to the bar. She poured another glass of whiskey, her expression unreadable. Today was a lesson. Her voice was steady. Not just for Avery, not just for Mark, but for anyone who thinks they can exploit us. Nicholas rose, stepping beside her. His eyes locked on hers, and he smirked. I know, and you handled it well, like always. Karoline turned to Nicholas, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. We're a team, Nick. I protect you here, just like I did in Washington. Nicholas placed a firm hand on her shoulder, his voice deep, but steady. I never doubted that. And after today, no one else will either. A slow smile spread across Karoline's lips, her eyes blazing with victory. Exactly. They'll remember the cost of crossing us. Nicholas nodded, his gaze sweeping over the lobby below. I'll issue the orders. Monitor Mark, hire new staff, update policies. You handle PR. Karoline met his eyes, unwavering. I will. By tomorrow, the world will know. Rio Grande isn't a playground for ideological nonsense. Nicholas smirked faintly, his expression darkening. Good. Now rest. You've earned it. But Karoline didn't move. Her gaze stayed locked on him, sharp and unyielding. Today wasn't just about Avery or Mark, Nick, she said, her voice low but powerful. It's about what we stand for. Real, American values. Nicholas nodded, his eyes narrowing in agreement. You're right. And we proved it. Karoline's cold smile returned. I want them to remember it forever. She stepped to the table, picking up the remaining whiskey glass. She took a slow sip, then set it down with a deliberate clink. I've seen it in Washington. People like Avery think they can use ideals to justify arrogance, To shut others out while calling themselves victims. Her voice was steady, cutting. Today we showed them the cost of that. Nicholas stood beside her, his eyes flickering with approval. You did, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Not here. Not in any of my hotels. Karoline nodded, her gaze burning with resolve. Good. But this isn't just about the hotel, Nick. It's a win for people like us. People who believe in real freedom. Not the fake kind the left preaches. She turned to the window, her voice low but commanding, like a White House briefing. Avery thought she could challenge me because I don't fit her open-minded mold. She was wrong. And now she knows the price of arrogance. The events at Rio Grande reflect the sharp ideological divide in America today, where even personal disputes explode into political firestorms. Karoline Leavitt, a former White House press secretary, doesn't just book a room, she walks into a battlefield. When a liberal receptionist, Avery, denies her service over politics, Karoline uses cold, hard facts, system logs, to expose the truth. The result? Avery's immediate firing by Nicholas, her husband, and the hotel's owner. But it doesn't stop there. Karoline and Nicholas don't just react, they reinforce. New hotel policies, no political stunts. No activists posing as employees. A stronger team. Mark, the weak manager, is given one last chance. With conditions. A public message. The couple takes control of the narrative, using social media to make a statement. And the internet. Trumps. On one side, conservatives hail Karoline as a leader, a warrior against hypocrisy. On the other, liberals paint Avery as a victim, claiming she was punished for her beliefs. But the truth is simple. Karoline didn't fire Avery for her politics. Avery got herself fired by refusing service. Actions have consequences, and that's the real lesson. Preparation beats outrage. Karoline didn't argue, she presented facts. In today's America, where anyone can become a headline, evidence is your greatest weapon. Leadership requires action. Mark's failure to control his staff wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a liability. The best leaders don't ignore problems, they eliminate them. Real freedom demands strength. The left preaches openness until it comes to opposing views. But Karoline didn't just defend herself. She defended everyone who refuses to bow to political intimidation. And in an age where every move can go viral, one thing is clear. Stand tall, wield the truth like a weapon, and never shy away from consequences, because silence doesn't win wars. Strength does. Subscribe to the channel to follow more stories of standing up for truth, and stay tuned, because someone will challenge Karoline again, and when they do, they'll learn the cost.